One and welcome everyone. Today I want to share a powerful story with you. A story that teaches one simple truth. Nothing is impossible if you refuse to give up. Many people quit when life becomes difficult. Many people believe their dreams are too big for them. But sometimes one small decision, one strong belief, and one determined heart can change everything. This story is about a boy who had almost nothing in life. But he had one powerful thing: the courage to keep going. And as you listen to this story in simple English, you will also improve your English listening and understanding. If you want to learn English through powerful stories like this, make sure to subscribe to this channel and continue learning with us. Part 1. The Boy Who Had a Dream. In a small town lived a boy named Daniel. Daniel's life was not easy. His family was poor. His father worked long hours doing small jobs, and his mother tried to take care of the home with very little money. Sometimes they had enough food, sometimes they did not. Their house was small and old. The roof leaked during heavy rain. In winter, the cold wind entered through the broken windows. But Daniel was not a lazy boy. He was quiet, thoughtful, and curious about the world. Every morning he walked to school wearing the same pair of worn shoes. The shoes were old, and the soles were almost broken. But Daniel never complained. Inside the classroom, Daniel loved learning, especially stories about successful people. He loved reading about inventors, leaders, and people who changed the world. One day, his teacher said something that Daniel would never forget. The teacher looked at the class and said, "Your life does not depend on where you start. It depends on how strong your mind becomes." Those words stayed in Daniel's heart. But outside the classroom, life was different. Many people in the town believed poor children could never achieve big things. Some people laughed when Daniel said he wanted to become successful one day. They said things like, "People like us don't become successful. You should think about survival, not dreams. Dreams are for rich people." Daniel heard these words many times. At first, those words hurt him. Sometimes he would sit alone and wonder, maybe they are right. But deep inside, a small voice always spoke to him. The voice said, "What if they are wrong?" Daniel began to understand something important. Many people around him had already accepted defeat in their minds. They stopped believing before they even tried. Daniel promised himself something. Even if life was difficult, even if people laughed, even if progress was slow, he would not give up on his dream. One evening, while sitting outside his house, Daniel looked at the sky. The stars were bright, and in that quiet moment, he made a decision. He said to himself, "I don't know how, I don't know when, but I will change my life." That was the beginning. Not success, not victory, just a decision. And sometimes a single decision can change the direction of a life. But Daniel had no idea how many challenges were waiting for him, because the road ahead was going to be much harder than he imagined. And very soon, life would test his belief in a way he never expected. Part 2. When life started testing him. Daniel sat under the night sky after making that promise to himself. "I will change my life." It sounded powerful. But the next morning, reality returned. Life was still the same. The small house was still leaking. The family was still struggling. Money was still very little. Dreams are easy to say, but life begins to test those dreams. And Daniel's test started very soon. One day, Daniel's father came home looking very tired. His face was serious. He sat down quietly at the table and said something that shocked the family. "I lost my job." The room became silent. Daniel's mother looked worried. The family already had very little money, and now the only income was gone. For the next few weeks, things became even harder. Sometimes there was not enough food. Sometimes electricity was cut because bills could not be paid. Daniel watched his parents struggle every day. He saw the stress in his father's eyes. One evening, Daniel heard his parents talking quietly. His mother said, "Maybe Daniel should stop school and help with work." Daniel stood behind the door and heard those words. His heart started beating fast. School was the one place where he felt hope. But now even that might disappear. That night, Daniel could not sleep. He kept thinking, "If I stop school now, my dream may disappear." But he also knew his family needed help. The next morning, Daniel made another difficult decision. He went to his father and said, "Dad, I will study, but I will also work." His father looked surprised. "You are still a child," his father said. But Daniel shook his head. "I want to help." After that day, Daniel's life changed completely. Every morning he still went to school. But after school, he started doing small jobs. Sometimes he helped at a small shop. Sometimes he carried boxes for a local store. Sometimes he washed dishes at a small restaurant. The work was tiring. His hands became rough. His body became exhausted. But Daniel did not complain. Because every night, after working for hours, he still opened his books. Sometimes he studied under a small lamp. Sometimes he studied under a streetlight outside because electricity was cut at home. People in the neighborhood saw him sitting there with books. Some of them said, "Why are you working so hard? Life will still be the same." But Daniel remembered his promise. "I will change my life." One winter evening, something happened that nearly broke him. Daniel came home after a long day of work and school. He was extremely tired. His body hurt. His mind felt heavy. He opened his book to study, but his eyes kept closing. He felt frustrated. He threw the book on the table. Then he whispered to himself, "This is too hard." For a moment, Daniel felt like giving up. He thought about an easier life. A life without studying. A life without pressure. A life where he simply accepted the situation. But then he remembered something his teacher once said. "Your life does not depend on where you start. It depends on how strong your mind becomes." Daniel sat quietly for a moment. He closed his eyes. Then he picked up the book again. Slowly, quietly, and he started studying again. That moment was very important. Because success is not built when everything feels easy. Success is built in the moments when quitting feels easier than continuing. Months passed. Daniel kept studying and working. One day, something surprising happened at school. The principal called him into the office. Daniel felt nervous. "Did I do something wrong?" he thought. But when he entered the office, the principal smiled. "Daniel," he said, "your teachers told me about your hard work." Then he handed Daniel a paper. "You have received a special scholarship for your studies." Daniel looked at the paper in disbelief. The scholarship would pay for his school expenses. For the first time in a long time, Daniel felt a deep sense of hope. When he told his parents, his mother started crying. His father placed his hand on Daniel's shoulder and said, "I am proud of you." That night, Daniel looked at the sky again, just like the night when he made his promise. But this time, something inside him felt stronger. He realized something important. Hard work does not always bring immediate results, but consistent effort slowly opens new doors. Daniel's journey was still just beginning. Much bigger challenges were waiting for him. And soon, life would bring a moment that could change everything forever. Part 3. The moment that almost broke him. Daniel stood outside his house that night holding the scholarship paper. For the first time in many months, he felt something powerful inside him. Hope. It was not a huge victory. His life had not suddenly become easy. But it was a sign that his hard work was not invisible. Someone had noticed. Someone believed in him. And that small moment gave Daniel new energy to continue. But life was not finished testing him yet. In fact, the hardest moment of his journey was still waiting. Because of the scholarship, Daniel was able to continue studying. He worked during the day and studied every night. Years slowly passed. Daniel became one of the most hard-working students in his school. His teachers trusted him. His classmates respected him. One day the school announced something exciting. There was a national competition for students. The competition was about problem-solving, creativity, and knowledge. The winner would receive a very big opportunity, a chance to study at a top university with full support. For Daniel, this sounded like a dream. A university like that could completely change his life. But when he looked around, he saw something that made him nervous. Many students preparing for the competition came from rich families. They had private tutors. They had expensive books. They had access to resources Daniel had never even seen. For a moment, Daniel felt small. He thought, how can I compete with them? But then he remembered his long journey. He remembered the nights under the streetlight. He remembered working after school. He remembered the promise he made to himself. And he said quietly, I may not have everything, but I will give my best. So Daniel decided to participate. The competition was not easy. The questions were complex. They required deep thinking and creativity. Many students studied in comfortable rooms with tutors helping them. Daniel studied alone. After work, he came home exhausted. But he still opened his books, night after night, page after page. Sometimes he did not understand the problems. Sometimes he felt frustrated. Sometimes he thought he was not smart enough. But every time doubt appeared, he asked himself one question. What if I try one more time? So he kept going. Slowly, his mind became stronger. Slowly, he began understanding things that once seemed impossible. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. Hundreds of students gathered in a large hall. Daniel looked around. Everyone seemed confident. Some students were discussing advanced topics. Some were talking about their tutors and training programs. Daniel sat quietly in his chair. For a moment, fear appeared again. His hands felt cold. His heart was beating fast. He thought, what if I fail? But then another thought came, a stronger thought. Fear does not decide my future. My effort does. The competition began. The questions were difficult, very difficult. Some questions Daniel solved quickly. Others took a long time. But he stayed calm. He focused on one problem at a time. Hours passed. Finally, the competition ended. When Daniel walked out of the hall, he felt something strange. He was not sure if he had won, but he felt proud because he knew something important. He had given everything he had. Several days later, the school received the results. Students gathered around the notice board. Daniel's heart was racing. He slowly walked toward the board. There were many names. First place, second place, third place. Daniel looked carefully, but his name was not there. For a moment, everything felt silent. His mind became empty. All the hard work, all the nights of studying, and still, no victory. Daniel walked away quietly. He felt disappointment in his chest. For the first time in a long time, doubt returned. Maybe I tried too hard for something that was never meant for me. But something surprising happened later that day. The principal called Daniel again. When Daniel entered the office, the principal smiled warmly. He said, "Daniel, you did not win the competition." Daniel lowered his head, but the principal continued. But something else happened. One of the judges had carefully reviewed Daniel's work. The judge noticed his unique way of solving problems, his creativity, his determination, and the judge recommended Daniel for a special training program for talented students. It was not the main prize, but it was still an incredible opportunity. Daniel stood there in silence. He realized something powerful. Sometimes life does not reward us exactly how we expect. But effort never truly goes to waste. Doors open in unexpected ways. And Daniel was about to step through a door that could change everything. But the most important moment of his story had not happened yet. Because very soon, Daniel would face the biggest decision of his life. Part 4. The moment that proved nothing is impossible. Daniel stood quietly in the principal's office after hearing the news. He did not win the competition, but a judge had noticed his work and recommended him for a special training program. For a moment, Daniel could not speak. He had expected only 2 results, victory or failure. But life gave him something unexpected, an opportunity. The principal smiled and said, "Daniel, this program is very special. Only a few students are selected every year. It will help you grow, learn, and prepare for bigger opportunities." Daniel's heart filled with hope again. But there was still one problem. The training program was in another city, a big city, far away from his small town, and Daniel's family had never sent anyone so far before. That evening, Daniel sat with his parents and explained everything. His father listened carefully. His mother looked worried. The city was far. Life there would be different. And Daniel would have to live away from home for the first time. His mother asked softly, "Are you sure you want to go?" Daniel looked at his parents. He knew they were afraid, but he also knew this chance could change his life. He said quietly, "Yes, I want to try." His father stayed silent for a moment. Then he said something Daniel would never forget. "Son, we cannot give you money or big advantages, but we can give you one thing, our belief in you. If this is your dream, go and chase it." Daniel felt tears in his eyes. For the first time, he realized how much his parents trusted him. And that trust became his strength. A few weeks later, Daniel arrived at the big city. Everything felt different. Tall buildings, busy streets, fast-moving people. Students from many different places. Most of them came from comfortable families. Many of them had been studying with professional teachers for years. For a moment, Daniel felt the same old doubt again. Do I really belong here? But then he remembered something important. He had reached this place through hard work. No one had given him this opportunity for free. He had earned it. So Daniel decided to do the only thing he knew how to do. Work harder. The training program was intense. Students studied for many hours. They solved difficult problems. They learned new ideas every day. At first, Daniel struggled. Some topics were completely new to him. Sometimes he stayed up late trying to understand things others already knew. But Daniel had something powerful: persistence. When something was difficult, he tried again. When something seemed impossible, he tried one more time. Day after day, month after month, year after year. Slowly, his mind became stronger. Slowly, he became more confident. And slowly, people began noticing him. Teachers respected his determination. Students admired his discipline. He was no longer the quiet boy from the small town. He was becoming someone stronger, someone capable. Several years later, Daniel faced another big opportunity: a final national selection program. This time, the prize was even bigger: a chance to join one of the best universities in the country. The same kind of opportunity Daniel once believed was impossible. The competition was fierce. Thousands of talented students were participating. But Daniel was no longer afraid, because he had already fought many battles. He had already survived difficult nights. He had already proven to himself that effort could change life. When the final results were announced, Daniel stood quietly in the crowd. His heart was calm. Whatever happened, he knew he had given his best. Then he heard his name: Daniel Carter. He had been selected. For a moment, he could not believe it. Years of struggle, years of work, years of persistence. And finally, the door he once thought impossible had opened. Years later, Daniel became a successful professional. But when people asked him about success, he always said something very simple: "My success did not begin when I won. It began the day I decided not to give up." Because success is not one moment. Success is many small decisions. The decision to continue when life becomes difficult. The decision to try again when failure appears. The decision to believe when doubt becomes loud. Most people do not fail because their dreams are impossible. Most people fail because they stop trying too soon. But Daniel's story teaches us something powerful. Your starting point does not define your future. Your circumstances do not control your destiny. Your struggles do not determine your limits. What truly shapes your life is one simple thing: your decision to keep going. Because when a person refuses to give up, when a person continues to work, learn, and grow, when a person keeps believing even during hard times, then something amazing happens. What once looked impossible slowly becomes possible. And that is the truth this story wants you to remember. Nothing is impossible for the person who refuses to quit.